Good morning, everybody. Another beautiful day here in Miami, Florida. Check this out. Stocks plunge. Yes, they did. Let's talk about it. But first, that's better. So why did this happen? Let's talk about it. The first thing I would try to understand is macroeconomic indicators. These are things like the GDP, employment data, and inflation rates. The second thing you need to understand is central bank policies. The central bank controls two major things. Number one is they anticipate the changes in interest rates. And number two is monetary policies. These two things are key drivers in currency fluctuations. That's why we have this, up and down, up and down. And the third thing is you have to be able to analyze forecasting data. What does that mean? What that means is you have to be able to look at data that the central bank or economists are putting out and kind of be able to know how that's going to affect the market or affect the dollar or the yen or whatever it is that you trade. For example, let's say the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank of the United States, decides to raise interest rates. When interest rates go up, it becomes more expensive for banks to borrow money. Now, if it's more expensive for the banks to borrow money, it's now more expensive for you to borrow money. So how would this affect the market? First thing that would happen is there'd be increased demand for the US dollar. Why? The higher the interest rate, the more attractive it is for investors to hold their assets in US dollar because they can earn more interest on their investments. Second thing that's going to happen when the Fed raises rates is reduced inflation. High rates slow down economic activity because loans are more expensive, which leads to reduced inflation, which strengthens the value of the US dollar. So now that we know all of this, where do I go to get my economic data and stay on top of the markets? First place I'll look, Bloomberg, live on YouTube. You don't have to have YouTube TV. It's free. Just keep it running live. I only use this TV for Bloomberg. It doesn't play anything else. Next is forexfactory.com. Gives you all the important news for the week. It even tells you how it's going to affect your trading. Forex Factory, major key. And lastly, insidetrades.com. I'm subscribed to their mail list, so every morning they send me what's going on in the market, the prices, everything, just economic data, things that you need to know for the day. At first, all this stuff is going to seem like Spanish. You're not going to understand what this lady's talking about, but I promise you, eventually you will get it. So now what I want you to do is go to forexfactory.com, right? And analyze all this data. Mainly look at the time that it came out and then go to your charts and go to the times in the market where some data was released. For example, we're going to use 8:30 a.m. unemployment claim. That candle there, 8:30 a.m. And notate what the market does after the news. So if you do this exercise over and over and over again, every week, you look at what came out, how it affected the market, you'll eventually memorize it. And you're on the way to becoming an amateur economist. The wonderful thing about Forex is whether the economy is good or bad, you can still make money. And that's what it's all about.